Have you ever wanted to work totally offline on an aeroplane but still continue to use AI chat? Or maybe you're paying too much in your monthly subscriptions for AI and you want to reduce that? Well, you can use local models. And today I'm going to dive into a local model called Gemma 4. We're going to give you a beginner's guide to Gemma, how to get started, how to use it, but most importantly, why I believe that beginners should care about this application. Today's video is kindly sponsored by AIFlow. If you're struggling with your task management, check it out in the link in the description. I'll talk about it more later in this video. So I'm just back from Berlin, spent a bit of time with Google to dive into some of their latest AI developments, and it was their I/O Connect event, so talking a lot with other developers and the team directly about what they're doing with their different things. Gemini Spark definitely interested me, but Gemma 4 was definitely very interesting and something that I will go even deeper in this video, but this will serve as a dive-in, a beginner's guide to help you get started with this, including how to use it on mobile, which a lot of people don't know about. So first and foremost, you're probably wondering what Gemma is. It isn't your local hairdresser, or at least in the UK. It is a local model, which means it uses your hardware to process all of the information. It doesn't leave your device. It doesn't just bounce up to the cloud and back. It is all on your device. It happens on your device as well, and does all its magic there. Now, a lot of people don't know that these type of things exist, but you can actually get so many of them now. It's an open source model, and you're probably wondering, why is this actually helpful? If you're offline and you don't have access to the internet, you can use both of these models on both mobile and desktop to interact with it. But you can also use this in different settings, like if your data is incredibly secure or you don't want to go past that. A lot of hospitals, a lot of those really sensitive companies tend to use or try and use these type of models, and local builds as well. So as I said, it lives on your device, and it's basically a very big download to get started. So you can go over to the Gemma website. You can download it for desktop using some of these different ones. I actually went with something called LM Studio. Now, LM Studio allows you to download actually a range of different local models. So you can see here, there's one from NVIDIA, there's other Chinese models, Quen, I'm probably pronouncing that terribly wrong, and you can scroll through many more of them. But Gemma 4 is getting incredibly good results at the moment because it has a really good balance between being a really good performer and has the size that a lot of people like as well. It's not huge to download, but also it is very powerful for what it actually does. So you can see this is what it looks like on device, and you can see I've loaded it up. It takes about 2 minutes to load once you've downloaded it. Make sure you download the one that's most suitable for your memory. So I've got 32 gigabytes of RAM on this device, which is quite high, but you should download something that is more suitable for your options. And normally LM Studio does give you options for that, but just make sure you do some research around that, because the more space it has to work with the memory it's got, the better the results will be. So you're probably wondering, how does this interact? Well, it works pretty much like any other of your AI assistants or chats. So it can say, what is your name? And send that off in a brand new chat. So it's using the local model, it's thinking, it's doing all its stuff that it traditionally does. It thought for 3 seconds and produced a output. And you may notice something different there. It said here, I'm ready to format these articles and prompt ready for Opus 4.8. Probably wondering, how has it got that information? Is it a magician? No, it hasn't pulled anything from your device. What it's actually pulling from is something over here. These presets on LM Studio allow you to give system context. So here I produce a really long system context. I can go to the editor, and you can see here that I shared, I want to be able to do this whilst I'm on the flight, and basically it's pulling from that. And you can change this, you can add more, you can produce more if you want to. And I can say, for example, write me the Airtable alternatives, and you can see my spelling isn't great there, but it doesn't matter because it still has some of the capabilities of what an AI processor will be able to understand. Like spelling mistakes and all that sort of stuff goes in part and parcel with it. Today's video is kindly brought to you by AIFlow. It's a powerful task management system. It's got a powerful AI assistant in it called Aki, who helps you to plan your day, manage your calendar, and get started. It helps you to bring all of your tasks in from a range of different applications, whether you're using Todoist, ClickUp, or anything else. It will universally manage your tasks with you. And what's also powerful is they've just released an MCP, which means you can interact with other apps like Claude, ChatGPT, and much more. So check it out in the link in the description. I think there's a good discount as well if you want to get started today on a free trial and go beyond that. And you can see here, it's prompted back, took 9 seconds to do that. And what's interesting is it didn't write the article for me. And that's because I said quite clearly in the brief that I want to be able to feed the information to you. I want to be able to get a formatted brief ready. I don't want the actual thing. So it's listening to me, it's understanding, and you can see its full comprehension here, like what it's actually going through. The user feeds me the context, not I'm going to do the article. So it still has really powerful capabilities. But you will notice that the particular performance isn't as good as something like Opus 4.8 or more and beyond. It's probably one of the more mid-range models. For example, I would say I'd probably compare it to Claude Haiku or maybe even Chat's earlier models. So don't expect the world from this, but at the same time, it's going to be nice to use on device, but not going to be as powerful as what you expect from a cloud-based AI assistant. So you can see here, I've demonstrated what some of the basic stuff looks like being able to use the prompt and instructions here, followed by also, getting started. So one thing I did here is I also uploaded a PDF. And you can see here it took about 16 seconds and went through all of the information on the PDF, and it created a summary of what it was. Now, you have to be really specific when uploading a PDF because you want to produce the best results. You can upload quite large PDFs. This one, I believe, was about 7 pages, I think, roughly, and it did a good job of bringing that together. Now, one thing that's important to note here is you need to be able to go down here and attach files. The difference with this is it's not going to be like Cowork, where it interacts with the files both ways. It's going to do it one way, almost like just being able to pass the information that's in that context, not interacting it, changing it, auto-formatting it, and things like that. And it uses something called retrieval augmented generation. And you can see you can upload up to 5 files at a time with a maximum combination of 30 meg, and those are the supported files. Now that's helpful because then you'll be able to interact with files still, but you still need to be very specific with the questions. Now I went and tested it and I said, how many times was the word Berlin used in the document? And again, it took 16 seconds to think, but still a really good answer in the fact it had 6 times in the document. Now, I watched as some of the team members who are working on Gemma 4 actually did a Sudoku puzzle and some more complex image-based stuff. And it was pretty incredible to see. Hopefully I've got some footage of that you can see on screen. But it was pretty incredible to see how powerful this type of technology is getting. Now, what I want to do now is actually jump over to the mobile version, because I've shown you some of the capabilities on desktop. You can see how powerful a local model like this can be. Not as powerful as what you see in the other things, but I think the mobile version can go that step further because the app itself is available for iPhone and Android, and it's called Imaging Edge or Image Edge. Let me find a real word so you can go search on the App Store. It's called Google AI Edge Gallery, sorry. Go to the App Store and download that. I'll include the links in the description anyway. But this is where you can go a little bit further. Let me show you and jump over to that device. Here, all you need to do to get started is press the AI chat, and you can see that there are a few different models on here. There's even ones that are bigger. I've got a relatively new iPhone, so it's fairly fast. And that's obviously because of the context and the power of the actual model. It takes a few seconds to get started, but I can now go ahead and ask, what are you doing? And interact with it. And you can see that it pretty much instantaneously responded. That's something to note, is the mobile version is a lot faster than the desktop version, in my opinion. But you can go over to the top and go into full offline mode and can carry on using this. am I offline? I mean, it won't know that, but you can start to see the speed of the unit. Now, there's one thing you'll notice in settings. You can choose the accelerator on CPU or GPU. Now, GPU is a lot faster. I found CPU sometimes crashes, so that's just something to note. Obviously, early days for the type of technology it is. So one thing to note is in this configurations area, don't go crazy. This type of thing, it does mess up a little bit when you adjust the temperature and things like that to it. So that's just something to note. But I want to show you some cooler abilities in this. If you go out and you go to Ask Image and you press the plus button and use, say, the camera, and you take a picture of yourself, and say, does this man have grey in his beard? I do. And as you can see, and say, how would you describe him? And you can see here that it goes into a high level of detail. And you can see that it says intelligent and mature, of course. But then you can see the fact that you're interacting with the model, and they actually showed a really good example of somebody who was hiking, and she took a photo of like a sign that she didn't understand in a different language. It actually gave the answer, and it said no permission for hikers or something like that, which is pretty cool. There's also this other one here called Audioscribe. So I could go ahead, press this, and I could record audio, press the audio button, and I could say something like this and talk and talk and talk, but basically give an idea of just talking. And if I go ahead and send that of 6 seconds, and it will give you the exact thing that you were corresponding with, which is helpful if you're in a meeting. So now I've showed you the desktop version, the mobile version. You know how to get started with Gemma. It's pretty easy. It's just jumping straight in. But I think the important thing to know is where this type of technology is going. I think it's really interesting to me particularly because this is all on your device, which means that the phones may be the future of being able to manage your AI privately and have full context about you. For example, if your iPhone knows every app that you're using, every correspondence through your text messages, and you're using that on device, that could be pretty helpful for how you're managing your system. There's no need to be online, there's no need for data to be sent up, and that could be incredibly powerful in the future, especially when it knows all of the context that it knows about you all of the time, which again is very, very useful. I don't think we're there in terms of model, but it's definitely one thing to consider in the future. Now, before we go, I have uploaded near the end of this video some clips of me talking directly to the Gemma 4 team, mainly about the potential of this application, the use cases, and where they see it going in the future. Again, a big thanks to Google for sending me over to Berlin and to diving into this stuff. I really appreciated chatting with the team and, of course, keeping updated with AI events. So do make sure to subscribe to this channel, check out AIFlow if you're interested, and check out Gemma and Google's other projects below. Thanks so much for stopping by in this video, and I'll see you very soon. Cheerio, folks.
Sure, I'm Angeline. I'm a research engineer on the Gemma team. I was one of the main contributors in post-training of Gemma 4, working specifically on multimodal safety and also kind of data. And yeah, before that I did research at ETH, but I've been enjoying being part of the Gemma team.
Fantastic.
Hi everyone, I'm Gus. I'm one of the product managers for Gemma. I've been for Gemma team since day zero, even day -1, and I'm very happy to be helping make this family of models improve in every iteration.
Super. Could you start off by explaining for people who are watching what Gemma is if they have no idea?
Sure.
A 101.
So Gemma 101. Gemma is an LLM it's an open model, which means that the model weights and the architecture and everything are out in the open, and everyone can download it on their device, and they can use it, they can change the weights, they can fine-tune it if they want the model to have new capabilities, if they want the model to have a different tone, for example, like, I don't know, speak like Shakespeare or something like that. So yeah, it's open for everyone to use, and that also makes it useful, for example, in the contexts where privacy is an issue or data protection is an issue, because whatever you put into the model never leaves the machine where the model runs.
Fantastic. And you used some good examples earlier of like the hospital using the local LLM, which was like crazy. But like, could you give some examples of like how it could be used in work in like some scenarios, maybe even extreme ones or light ones, whatever it be?
Yeah, I mean, I guess the standard example is on the airplane where you don't have usually, I think now more and more airplanes do have Wi-Fi, but
yes.
Usually you don't have internet connectivity. So having a local model on your laptop allows you to continue working and prototyping stuff even while offline. I think another scenario that's actually quite interesting is, for example, translation. Like say if we weren't speaking the same language, it would be quite easy to just have a local Gemma model on your phone, and I could speak my language, you could speak yours, and we would still be able to communicate. Yeah, I think these are some of the things that I think.
That's great, and probably like there's even more personal use cases, right? Like you showed the one where you took the photo of the red sign and things like that, right?
Yeah, so I mean, I can maybe explain that example. So that was one where, for example, if you are hiking, then usually you don't have internet connectivity either, and I saw a sign recently that said you can only go somewhere with good shoes, for example, but if I didn't speak the language, I wouldn't be able to understand the sign. So I think in cases like that, if you're in remote areas traveling, then having a translation model on your device that also supports video or audio or image or audio input is very useful.
Yeah, very much so. I was in Cyprus last week and there was a sign in Cypriot that said large dog. But luckily I was connected to the internet, so I could do it, but that would have been really helpful because I found the dog and legged it the other way. Could you give us like more of an insight into like where this could go like in the future, particularly like with the hybrid stuff and maybe the potential of Gemma?
Of course. So if you think, imagine if you could have a LLM running at 2,000 tokens per second, which is pretty fast, all the time available to you. I think we will get there at some point. And even if the model is not the super smart one, it's a pretty good one already. It will enable some use case that we don't even know about. It's something that I think it's so close, we're getting there. And then there's another thing that we can do over that. That's when the model is not strong enough to answer like a super hard question, we still have way stronger models that this model could use later. So it's a hybrid solution where you can run stuff completely local on your phone, but when you ask something harder, that needs more research, more connecting multiple dots, it can say, oh, wait a second, let me call a model with more capabilities. So I think we're moving to a place where this hybrid approach of local plus frontier in the cloud will be the solution, right?
Yeah.
Today, some folks are already implementing a situation where you have in previous talks we were here today, people talking about a router where there's a model that decides which model will answer the question. That's a thing that's already implemented in some places. So I think this technology will keep evolving to that direction. So there are many directions in terms of making the models smarter, that's one. Making the models way faster, that's another one. And this is more than just adding capabilities, right? It's using what we have, but like in more extreme situations. So I think there's going to be some pretty cool stuff there. For example, I use the 26B to understand docs. So some docs, when they're too deep into something that I'm not an expert, I use the 26B to create analogies for me that it makes it easier for me to understand. And this is the kind of thing that if you think from a regular person perspective, sometimes, for example, Angeline's a researcher, she's pretty smart on her field. Sometimes I feel, how do I ask something to her that doesn't sound dumb, right? So I can get to a model to help me get to a point where I can ask a question, even if she will never judge me. But that's not a problem on her or the others. It's like you, right? A person feels like, oh, I don't want to ask a dumb question. You can get and talk to a model to a point where you feel confident to ask a question. And this is the kind of thing that it enables people to learn more because they don't feel afraid of asking questions anymore. They can do a part of learning until you get to a point where, oh, now I feel confident, now I have a good question for this person. And I think we are moving more and more to that direction, right? More and more.
I like it. Yeah, it's
good.
It's like almost like a translator between you two.
Ah, yes, exactly.
No, that's so brilliant.
I can tell the example, but actually for some people on the infra side of the team, like sometimes when I need LLM sometimes to ask the question and get myself to a point where I can ask the question, and then when they reply, sometimes it's so hard to parse. I just pass it back to the LLM and I'm like, please help me understand and figure it out. So
that's a good use case. I like it. Yeah.
It's bridging gaps between disciplines.
Bridging gaps between people as well. Yeah.